Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a new video. Welcome to a little quarterly chatty catch-up life update Q&A. We're having girls' night, so pour yourself a glass of wine. It doesn't look like the nighttime. It is 5 o'clock, but you know, in the summer it doesn't get dark out till later, so I feel like the girls' night wine only really works in the fall when it's like cozy and dark out, but we're not ready to wish summer away yet. So anyways, cheers. It's 5 o'clock. It actually is 5 o'clock. I was gonna say it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It is 5 o'clock. We're trying a new Sauvignon Blanc today. And I'm so excited to catch up. We're just like two amigos catching up over a glass of wine, maybe a hot dog on a patio. Let's jump into it. I have tried to separate these out by category. I'm always shocked at how many questions you guys have because I try to do these like quarterly and then I also do them like every month or so on Instagram. You guys always come up with such great questions. So I have them all written down just because there's a few that I wanted to like really make some notes on and some tips and tricks for you guys. I'm trying to see what category I want to do first. Let's do house and home. That's a fun one. There wasn't a ton, so let's just jump into that. And if I'm looking down, I've got my laptop with me. So first one is, do you and Matt have the same decorating style in the house? Honestly, Matt is pretty hands-off when it comes to decorating. Like, he doesn't really care. He'll kind of let me do whatever I want. He's obviously more involved in the like renovating tool part of it. He said to me the other day, he was like, I'm so happy that you've like found your home style because I feel like you're just like so happy. And honestly, we've had it all over the years. We've tried every home decor style. We've done the white and the black IKEA furniture. We've done the, you know, the like literally white stark white walls, the black, that's it. No wood, no warmth. We have done it all, and I feel like we finally landed on kind of like what works for us and what's right for us. But I do have some tips and tricks in terms of like involving your partner when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't know. Matt honestly just lets me kind of like take the reign. But I do obviously keep him involved, but he's not someone who's like, oh, I really want our room to look like this. He's kind of like, hey, take the reign. I'm happy to help you with where you need it, but you kind of know what you want to do. I'd say find your overlaps, so whether it's colors or textures or types of furniture that you both like, and go from there, because it should feel like a shared space. Also giving them their own space. Matt has his own little like gaming setup in our spare bedroom. He can decorate that however the heck he wants, and I give him that. I also think letting each person have a non-negotiable in the space, and then show them your vision board. Especially like for me, I like to do like a little mock-up of what I want the space to look like, so I always try to involve him in that, and then I let him help me make decisions when it's like, oh, what piece of art do you like, or oh, which rug do you like, or what paint color do you like, just to have him feel involved and have him feel invested without overwhelming him. But I feel like design and decor is really overwhelming to him, and so he just like lets me take the reins on that, but I like to involve him in like any way that I can. I know that you guys did end up regretting the home library. Is there any other spaces you wish you had waited on? Do you have any tips on getting a new home and waiting on projects? Yeah, we definitely learned the hard way with the home library that the best thing you can do with a space is actually nothing for a little while when you move in. I'd say wait at least like 3 months before you do anything, unless it's something like major and structural that needs to be done. The only other space I'd say that we regret, and we don't like, we love the way it looks, but it's just not practical, is the entryway. We did this really cute little like board batten wall with some pegs and then a bench that flips up. But we are potentially going to be losing our mudroom in the next year or two, because that is on our shed roof, and our shed's going to be coming down because the roof is just like, it's really fucking old and it's falling down. Kind of pre-planning for the fact that we won't really have a mudroom. We don't think so. We don't think we're going to salvage it. So ideally we'd like to put a PAX in the front. We have no like where to put our, like we can hang our winter coats on the pegs, but other than that we have like nowhere to put our mitts and things like that, dog stuff, winter boots. So I love what it is now. It's just like not practical, I don't think, long term, because one thing about old homes is they just don't have a lot of storage. But I'd say tip wise, definitely live in the space first. I feel like there's so many things you need to notice, like notice the way that the light changes, which will impact the paint that you choose, and notice where your eyes gravitate to naturally in a space. That's maybe where you want to hang art or put a lamp. And for me, one thing I've really noticed is that the problem isn't sometimes in the bones of the space, it's just in the way that you've styled it or arranged it. So a really fun way to switch a room up without kind of committing is doing change in a non-commitment way. So like peel and stick flooring, maybe some new furniture, maybe swapping out your couch cushions if you have a couch that you can change that up in. Paint to me is really non-committal. Just like trying new things up before you commit to changing the bones of a space. And also listing out what bothers you versus what you enjoy in a space. So those are some of the tips I have for like waiting on home projects. Did your Europe trip inspire any new hobbies? I put this in this category because our Europe trip specifically inspired me with our home. I'm very drawn to the English countryside look, but then also some of the houses that we saw in London. I love that the theme in London or in England or maybe the UK or just Europe in general is like a very cozy lived in, but layered, very traditional, but feels inviting. And it's kind of a mix of period pieces, but modern touches. So a lot of warm wood, a lot of fun paint colors, a lot of art, a lot of brass hardware. And it just really inspired me to like continue decorating our home. And then last one is upcoming home projects for the end of the year. I kind of categorize these into needs and wants because that's just the reality is that there's a lot of projects to do and we can't do all of them. We do need to put grass down in the backyard, and fall is one of the best times to do that if you live in a colder climate like Canada because we have cool season grass. We'd ideally like to do a PAX unit in the entryway. Getting a front door, we replaced the back door. We'd like to do the front, which will hopefully be a lot cheaper because we do just get a pretty big draft coming through there. And then wants, which are things that like would be nice but not necessary, to remove the built-ins in the kitchen. Open the space up a bit more without those. And then the breakfast nook kind of teeters on needs versus wants. It just kind of depends how much we want to spend in the fall in terms of home projects. But those are kind of some of the things that are upcoming. I'm trying to really think of what else off the top of my head. I mean, the office like little makeover, that's kind of currently happening. And then the next video you guys see will be the home library makeover. So I think after the home library, we'll take a break for a bit. One thing we learned from last year when we did all these projects back to back is how nice and important it is to take a break in between home projects. Let the savings replenish, let your mental status replenish, and just take a breather in between. Next is social media. So someone asked, what is your filming equipment? So I edit on Final Cut Pro, but you can edit off of iMovie. I think they're all really similar at the end of the day. The camera I'm filming on now is the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. And then I also have the DJI Pocket Osmo 3, which is what I'm filming on when I'm out and about or I'm traveling. Let's see, what else? I also have the DJI little mini mic I recently got, and I love that. And then maybe I can link some of my equipment down below, like in terms of cases and gimbals and tripods, but I keep it pretty simple. I also, when I'm out and about, will sometimes film on my phone. It's not here, but I have an iPhone 16 Pro Max. I think the iPhone quality is amazing. What is your strategy for planning content? I love this question. I love the behind the scenes like content creator questions. So step one to me is knowing your big picture and kind of what your pillars are and what you like to talk about. So usually like the 3 to 5 categories you like to share. So for me, I'd say it's like thrifting, books, hobbies, home projects, and just like everyday life as a person in my 20s and as an introvert. And then I feel like I have a few video titles that I kind of rotate through. So home vlogs and then life of an introvert. And then also I will like plan it around what I'm doing or what I want to share. Short form, I'm pretty spontaneous and I don't really plan that one out, to be honest, but I do have a bit of a pillar structure and I can put that here for you guys. So on a weekly basis, I try to follow this. It doesn't usually happen, but I try. But I feel like if you have a reoccurring series, it's also easy to thrift with me, read with me, what I read this month, home project, what I thrifted versus what I styled, budget with me, etc. Okay, let's take this week for example. I really want to build my new desk. I need to go to IKEA, we just went to IKEA. I need to go to Costco to pick some things up. I want to maybe share my thoughts on Throne of Glass as I start reading it. To me, I'm like, okay, squish that all together, that's one vlog. Obviously there's the thrift with me videos, the reset videos, those kind of go up at scheduled times throughout the month. I'm going to Toronto in a few weeks for Book Crush, which is a romance book festival. And so I know I'm going to film some sort of book vlog while I'm there. And I honestly just usually let it come to me. When in doubt, I just usually pick up the camera, start a vlog, and it usually ends up being a life of an introvert vlog since I am an introvert and I spend most of my time alone. So that's kind of how I plan those videos out. And then if there ever comes a time where I want to get something up, I want to film something quick and get it up quick, a Q&A usually fits in there. We are still finishing up the home library. It's going to take us probably another few days, but I really wanted to get my 2 videos up this week. So easy to sit down and film this. Like a sit down video is like 30-40 minutes and then pretty easy to film, or sorry, to edit as well. So that's kind of how I strategize content. How do you pick what brands to work with? I love this question. First thing I ask myself, does it fit in my pillar? So does it fit in the things that I talk about? I think when you're in the lifestyle niche, it's nice because there's a lot of things you can promote. I could promote my makeup and my skincare and the food that I eat and the coffee I drink and the wine and the hot dogs or whatever, right? So I feel like it gives me a lot of room to work with. Sorry, it's getting a little warm. Everything's starting to stick to me. But the first thing I ask myself after they've sent me, so they usually say, oh, XYZ wants to work with you for this amount and this is the deliverables. I'll ask myself, how does this fit with my audience? So would my audience like this? Have they responded well to previous products? And does the price point match my audience's spending comfort levels? This is a big thing I've realized in the last few years. I feel like at the beginning, you're so excited to work with these brands because there's products you would never buy yourself price-wise, but then you want to work with them. And then sometimes you kind of have this light bulb moment. It's happened to me with a bedding company before that I'm not going to like name. I really enjoy their products, but I just realized it's not something that most people are going out and buying right now or paying that price to buy. Most people need bedding, but people are not paying these big prices to buy bedding. Next is brand reputation. So do people overall like this brand? Have they worked with influencers I follow and respect in the past? And do their ethics match what I want to associate with? I'll also look at previous brand campaigns to kind of suss out and judge out creative freedom. So let's say a brand did a campaign. I'll go look and see at previous creators who've worked with them. If everyone's video looks the same, I'll know that they don't have a lot of creative freedom. But if everyone has a different point of view on it, so let's say it's a coffee company and someone does a morning routine and someone does a taste test and someone does a make my morning coffee with me and read my book, and then someone does something else, I'll know that the creators had a bit more creative freedom, which I personally am looking for when I work with a brand, because I want to work with a brand in a way that's going to fit my content well. And then next is the proud test, where would I be excited to tell someone that I'm working with this company? So yeah, that's kind of how I pick what brands I want to work with. And I also just go with my gut too. I actually had an offer, I don't really know if I'm allowed to say this, but I was approached to work with Amazon Prime a few months ago, and it's a service I use, but I don't feel like they need the promotion from me, and I just had a feeling in my gut that I shouldn't take it regardless of the money, so I ended up turning it down. I go with my gut a lot. How have you navigated seasons of change on your channel, starting and stopping certain content? I want to start creating different content than what I started. This is a really great question. I think it's something a lot of people don't talk about. The reality is it's normal for creators and people in general to evolve and grow over time, and you're gonna have new interests, but it's funny because people in real life can have that, but then there's this notion that creators have to stick with what you started with just because you have an audience around it. But if you look at my channel, for example, I started with horse content, then I went to university content, and then I went to like hardcore 9-to-5 content, and then I kind of went into the home lifestyle page. I dabbled in the Ottawa content for a bit, realized I didn't want to be like committed to a city, and then went a bit more broad. I feel like I'm dealing with this right now, and I feel like it's been on and off for the last year and a half, but that's kind of how I feel with financial content. It is something that like was explosive growth 3-4 years ago for me, but the longer I do it, the more I realize that like it's not what I care about anymore, to be quite honest. For a period I looked at when I first started it, that financials were just these numbers and these strategies that I was sharing. But as time goes on, I realized that my finances are my life and my priority and my marriage and one day my children. And I also, when we got married, started feeling the shift of feeling protective over our shared privacy. And Matt is amazing, of course. He lets me do whatever I want, share all my finances online. But there's certain things we've kept private. I'm just like struggling with wanting to continue to fully share that. Something that I think is important is you can always pivot, just don't quit, right? You can pivot what you share. You can experiment with trying different things. But if your heart is not in something anymore, like it is okay to call that a season and move on. And maybe that desire will come back. I'm a big believer like in taking a break from something. Like if something is starting to feel creatively repetitive to you, reduce its presence and see if you've rediscovered joy within it. And if you do, great. And if you don't, it's time to move on. I'm someone who has learned to accept judgment. I've learned to accept criticism. I've learned to accept hate. Sharing your money choices is always going to invite judgment. It's a very vulnerable thing to do online. And as the years go on, I'm like, why the fuck do I do this? Like, that is crazy. Zoe and I were talking about this the other day. She posted a story and was like, it's actually crazy to think that I just put my finances online for the world to see. My coworkers can see it, my friends can see it, my family can see it. And I think it's so easy for people to project their own beliefs about money. Obviously, that's what you get from sharing it. But at the same time, there comes, for me at least, this immense pressure and just constant fatigue of having to explain yourself and kind of like proactively get ahead of the critique by constantly explaining yourself. Why I went out to eat, why I bought this, why I bought this sweater, why I bought this home decor piece. And the emotional labor of having to constantly explain yourself with financial content takes away from the fun of it, in my opinion. And so my tips and tricks and like just a bit of a personal experience, if that helps. Okay, I got a few travel questions. I didn't really talk too much about our London trip, even on Instagram on Q&A. So I figured I'd answer some of those questions that you guys had. Do you have any London tips, planning a trip like that sometime in the next year. I feel like this might sound repetitive and like a broken record because I say this all the time, but accept that you're not going to see everything in one trip and pick 2 to 3 things that you want to do each day that you're there. Don't overpack your schedule. The best part about London for us was just wandering around, wandering into pubs and coffee shops and museums. I also think London is really big, kind of similar to New York in the sense that I would group your activities by neighborhood and just like do one thing in that neighborhood, then slow down. It also depends how much time you have as well. You can use your Apple Pay to go on the tube, which is a lifesaver. You don't have to worry about carrying around a card with you. You just tap your phone and go. Plan for weather swings, definitely. And then most museums we went to were free, which was awesome. There's a lot of free things to do. And if you are someone who wants to do a lot of excursions and tourist activities, I'd highly recommend looking into, I think it's called the London Pass. You can basically buy this predetermined cost pass that saves you a bit of money. Like let's say you bought a 4-item pass, then you could choose 4 items for museums to go to. eSIM did you use? Was your data truly unlimited? I feel like they always advertise that. Yes, I used, I wanted to say Areola. Areolo, not Areola. Yes, it was truly unlimited. I was kind of shocked. It never slowed down. Highly recommend. It was a super easy process to turn it on and off. I think I have a referral code. Like everyone who signs up gets it. It's not like I'm working with them as a creator, but I'll link it down below. I think it gets you $5 off. Would you come back and see different parts of London? Are you planning another trip to London? Was it a one and done trip for you guys? Everyone wants us to come back to the UK and I'm here for it. Definitely would love to come back. I think we would probably rent a car and do a bit more exploring. I'd love to stay in the Cotswolds a night or 2. There's other neighborhoods that we'd love to visit. We didn't get to do any of the markets when we were there. And also I'd love to go down to the ocean, specifically to Brighton, Southend-on-Sea, Margate, and Whitstable, I think it's pronounced, and just kind of like see other parts of the UK. And also, once again, yeah, just get outside of London. Did this trip give you any more excitement to travel around Europe? 100% yes. I am so happy for our first trip to Europe. We did London. It was a little bit intimidating to me to do the red-eye flight, the longer flight. And so I knew I wanted the first place we went to in London to be somewhere, one, we spoke the language, that was easy to navigate, and that wasn't crazy far from us. That was a direct flight, so we weren't super overwhelmed, and it was a great decision. I feel a little bit more ready to tackle Berlin in the fall, and then also now we just like have the Europe bug and we want to go to other places. Tips for solo travel. Okay, I have a few written down. I try to share these tips too when I am solo traveling, so I can try and link some videos down below where I shared them too. I like to stay at boutique hotels, smaller hotels with 24/7 security. I usually ask ahead of time, but I like to stay in hotels that you have to tap your room card to get into the elevator and use it. I always give my location out to my husband. Brianna has my location. Thomas, my manager, has my location. My best friend Emma does too, but she's in Australia now, so I don't really know what she could do from far away, but I give my location to multiple people. I share my itinerary. I never share in real time what I'm doing on social media, especially as a creator. I always check in with my husband and my friends, like made it back to the hotel safe, heading out now. I always choose my hotel room strategically, and if they say my room number out loud when I'm checking in, I ask for a new room. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, your room is 4398, and like you can obviously tell that I'm a female traveling by myself. I always ask for a new room for safety, and I try to ask for a room that's in the middle. So I don't do a room on the first floor and I don't do a room on the highest floor. I like to stay around the middle. Yeah, those are kind of like some of the tips off the top of my head I can think of. What are you most excited for when you visit New Brunswick? I honestly think there's no feeling quite like exploring a place for the first time and just wandering. You guys know I love to meander, so truly what I'm excited about is to just walk around and explore. Like, give me a coffee shop, a thrift store, and a bookstore, and like a museum, and I'm here for a good time. I love exploring new places. I love traveling by myself. I obviously love traveling with my husband, but I think it is so important to maintain a sense of independence and just doing things alone. So I'm very, very excited. Next Disney trip, we don't have anything planned right now. I actually talked about this with you guys over on Instagram. Like, if you were a Canadian, or I guess from anywhere really, if you were kind of like waiting for changes, like what were you waiting on before you traveled to the States again? And ultimately right now we're just kind of waiting for some border safety changes to be made and the tariffs and everything. I don't know if, like, a lot of people have different opinions. Some people are waiting to the end of the administration. Some people are just waiting for some change, for things to cool down. I don't see us going anytime before next summer, fall, just with all the travel that we have already coming up. I'm going to Berlin in the fall. I'm going to New Brunswick in the fall, both for work. We're going on a family trip with Matt's family next spring. And then we'll ideally have our anniversary trip in May. So like the soonest I see us going is next fall. But honestly, Who knows? We don't have any trips planned. We've already decided for our next trip, we will be staying at Port Orleans though. I have no idea when this is gonna happen, but I'm kind of also okay to wait a bit just because there's new things opening. They just announced the opening date for the Pirates Bar at Magic Kingdom, so I'm kind of okay to wait a bit if it means there'll be new things for us to do when we go. We'll definitely be staying at Port Orleans, maybe check off a new, I don't know, deluxe resort for like a night or two, maybe like yacht club or beach club or something. But we're both very, very excited. We talk about it all the time. Like, oh, what are we going to do on our next Disney trip? I'd love to eat at Crystal Palace. I've never had breakfast there. I don't think anytime sooner than that. But it also could be longer. I don't know. Yeah, we don't really know right now. Next overseas destination, any upcoming travel plans. So yeah, I'm going to New Brunswick in September for work, Berlin in October for work. Matt's still trying to figure out if he can get the time off to come join me or not. I think we're gonna do, I think, okay, a European cruise for our anniversary in May. We really want to get into the habit. If we only do one trip a year, we'd like it to be on our anniversary. First, we were like, oh, let's do a Disney cruise in Europe in May. Maybe with some special guests, who knows? And then we looked at my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are doing a Virgin cruise this month in Europe. So we're gonna see how they feel about that. We also looked at Norwegian. If you've done a European cruise anywhere on any airline or on any cruise ship line, let me know down below who and what you did. I think we'd do a 7-day, but it feels like a really good way to see a lot in a small amount of time and not have to worry about booking all these damn hotels and flights and food and all that stuff. So yeah, we're looking into potentially doing that, and those are kind of the plans for now. But yeah, so many fun like travel plans coming up. I'm so excited. And then of course Toronto in a few weeks for Book Crush, which I'm so excited about. Okay, now we kind of have all the miscellaneous questions. I'm excited for this one. Thoughts on Botox and filler. I'm all you do you. You do what's gonna make you confident. Something I've always wanted, and I've never said this online. I really want a chin lift, chin sculpt, whatever you call it. The thing that JC Marie Smith had, I want that. I've always been self-conscious on my chin. I don't really have a pronounced chin. I have like a double chin. It's always been a big insecurity no matter how much I've weighed. Even growing up, I've been super insecure about my chin, and it's the one thing I despise about myself. So I would love to get a chin lift so I'd have a more defined chin. And I'm definitely not opposed to getting Botox. I obviously don't think I need lip filler because I already got pretty big lips and I was actually bullied for it growing up. So it's just like kind of ironic that it's so popular now to have bigger lips because I was bullied immensely for it. Yeah, maybe Botox, just a little bit. I like it au naturel. So I don't know, we'll see, but I'm definitely not opposed to it. Did you ever cut your hair or dye it another color? You guys, I have had everything under the sun. Okay, let me take you through memory lane. I've had pitch black hair. I've had like a lob. I loved my lob. I really want to cut my hair short again. I loved myself with like, so I don't mean that in like I looked so good. Like I really liked having short hair. I did the chin bob. I did the curtain bangs when they were popular. I went back to my natural color. I've done the Elsa blonde. Like I have done it all. This is definitely my favorite blonde. I like being like this color blonde. I'm a dirty blonde naturally. So this just, I just feel like I was meant to be blonde, okay? I'm never going back to my natural color. I'm so sorry. But I definitely have been thinking a lot about cutting my hair, even if it's like not a traditional bob, but like, I gotta untuck the ears for a second. Like, kind of hard to, how do the girlies do this? Okay, like, you can't really see it, to be honest. It's not really working. Okay, maybe if I do it like this. Like, this is a fun length. Anyways, I don't know. We'll see. But I have been thinking so much about it because I actually got a notification that 6 years ago today, I cut my hair into a bob, whatever, shoulder length, whatever you want to call it. And I loved it. So I was just thinking like maybe the last few years of my 20s, cut the hair short. It always grows back. My hair grows so fast. I don't know. Let me know. Do you guys like the long hair? Do you like the short hair? The color's staying. But yeah, my hairdresser thinks I would be a really cute strawberry blonde. So like, I don't know, maybe for fall we could go strawberry blonde. I'm just kidding. Maybe. I don't know. Let me know. What are you looking forward to in the second half of 2025? Definitely Berlin. I'm really excited. My dad actually spent a lot of time growing up in Germany because my grandfather was in the military. So I'm very excited to just like, I don't know, feel connected to him there. Spooky season, of course. Enjoying our home library. I'm just excited for the books to be in finally and it to be like just so cozy, especially with fall coming, and just enjoy it. Continuing through in a glass and then checking off new province. I'm very excited about. How did you get into reading and how quickly did you find your genre of books? I have always been a reader. I was that kid who was carrying around Harry Potter at like the age of 6 and I didn't even understand the words. Like I have been a lifelong reader. Got my first Kindle in 2019. I was that girl that was checking out 20 books like at the library in the summer. I've been like a lifelong reader as long as I can remember. I've been reading, and I've always enjoyed reading multiple genres. I don't think that's the case for everybody, but I just like a little bit of everything. I grew up reading a lot of romance, dystopian, Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Aragon. I didn't read a lot of thrillers growing up, unless you classify Pretty Little Liars as a thriller. But yeah, I've always just kind of read a little bit of everything. I'd say a few tips I have in terms of finding out what genres you like is, what do you enjoy watching on TV, and kind of translate that over. Like if you love Bridgerton, maybe try a historical romance, or maybe if you like dark matter, try sci-fi. Also, like, what are you looking for in a book, right? Are you looking to feel cozy and fluffy and comforted? Pick up a romance book. Are you looking to escape to a different world? Pick up a fantasy book. Are you looking for just like thinking deeply? Maybe try literary fiction. Or do you want to be on the edge of your seat? Like, do you like horror movies? Then pick up a thriller. I've also heard people talk about, I've never tried this, the 3-book rule, where you basically give yourself 3 books in a genre to try it and see if you like it. Of course, utilizing the library is the best way to try, because then you're kind of like trying a book out without committing to pay for it. So those are my tips I have on trying genres out. And it's also totally normal to like multiple genres too, but I feel like everyone kind of has their favorite for sure. Do you ever deal with body image issues, and how do you deal with it if so? Yes, I think especially with my IBS. I also have a B-belly, which I didn't realize, like I thought it was just me, and then I saw more people on social media and I was like, wow, I'm not alone. And one of my biggest tips is following creators that have a similar body to you. I follow a lot of mid-size creators. I'm like a size 10 to 12. Discourse on if that's mid-size or not. I wouldn't say, I feel like I'm not in the single digits, so I don't really know, but I like to follow people that have a similar body type to mine, just to make me feel very included and I don't feel very separated, if that makes sense. I also am the kind of person that, like, I feel like I really struggle with my body image when I see myself on camera. Like in a mirror, I'm always like, that outfit looks cute, and then I see myself from the side on like camera and I'm like, girl, what? And I really struggle with my confidence on the camera. I like to have a lot of stretchy elastic clothes, and then I also just have a lot of like comfort outfits, so like a black tank top, sweatpants, sweat shorts. The shorts that I'm wearing right now, definitely like a comfort piece for me. I know they're flattering, and I know that they'll kind of look good with my body as I bloat throughout the day. Something that's also helped me too is not feeling like I have to hide my body. So oh my gosh, it's getting really warm in here. Balancing flowy with fitted items I find helps more than just like hiding my body under flowy pieces. And then I try to remind myself on, I call this to Matt Bad Belly days, that my worth and like my identity is not tied to my stomach size. And I've started to practice a bit more of not necessarily body positivity, but body neutrality on the days that I need it. So instead of saying like, oh my God, I hate that I'm bloated, or I hate that my stomach looks like this, shift it to like, this is what my belly looks like today, and it is allowed to change. But you're definitely not alone. I definitely have a lot of body image issues that I'm working through. How do you find balance in life? House versus work versus hobbies versus families versus friends. I feel like I have some good tips on this. I look at balance as fitting the puzzle pieces together depending on where they're needed right now. I also am someone that believes that your priorities shift over the different seasons and even over certain weeks. So on Matt and I's birthday weekend, we spent the entire weekend with friends and family. We did no cleaning around the house. And then the next weekend, this past weekend, we worked on home projects a lot. So I think your priorities are kind of always shifting and always evolving depending on the season and what you need. But I always try to regularly check in with myself weekly and just kind of see what feels good, what feels off, where I need to put maybe a bit more energy into. I think especially when it comes to hobbies is that we think that we need to have like an hour or two to dedicate to them. And the reality is like even 10 to 15 minutes focusing on a hobby feels better than not doing anything at all. Weekly anchors. So I think about it as like an anchor in the ocean. The boat's not going anywhere. So Tuesdays are always my editing night. Like without a doubt, it's in Matt's calendar reoccurring. That's when he games with the guys. And if I don't have any editing to do, I view it as like a business admin evening to just get ahead for the week. Friday nights are always date night. Saturday mornings, I always get coffee with my mom. Favorite way to eat a hot dog? Love this, with ketchup. Honestly, pretty simple. If I'm feeling bougie, ketchup, grilled onions, and bacon. Are you still getting your graduate certificate? I am. That teacher shortage is not helping me in the slightest. I don't know if it's just an Ontario thing. It could be like Canada-wide, but there is a huge teacher shortage right now. And one of the courses I've been trying to take has not been available for like a year and a half. And if you're new here, I started a graduate certificate in 2022, I think, for healthcare management or healthcare services. Health management services. Health services management. This is jibber jabber. Anyways, I only need 2 classes left. One of the classes has not been like available. And the other one It's just the timing hasn't worked. A lot of professors are pretty accommodating. And oh, sorry, by the way, its certificate is like 8 courses, like 8 grad level courses instead of like a whole master's program. Anyways, like most people work and all that kind of stuff. They're really accommodating. It's an online program. They're really flexible, which is nice. However, I have tried to take this one class. It's like a law class, law for health services or health managers. I've tried to take it twice now, and the prof is just like, it's fine. It's not his fault. It's just not super accommodating. It is the one course I've taken that has proctored exams, which is fine. Once again, not a huge deal. I don't have to go to Toronto since I'm like more than 150 kilometers away. I just have to get it proctored at U Ottawa. But every time there's been a midterm, I've been away for work, which, you know, it's hard because work is like my job. I can't not go to a conference I'm planning and running, but then I also am trying to wrap up school. So it's been really tricky because the last 2 times I've tried to take this class, I've had a work trip, so I haven't been able to get the exam proctored, and they just like aren't willing to work with me. So fingers crossed I can get it in this winter and then I can be done, because I just have some other things kind of like on my radar, but I'm still working on it. I've been trying to take the classes. They just like either haven't worked with my schedule or been available. So yes, I am. I have 2 classes left. When does the fall content start? September 1st. Birth control journey update. I really don't have a huge update. I got my IUD out in 2023 and I struggled for a while to find a birth control that worked for me. I also decided that would be a good time to start tretinoin. Idiot Carter. Because obviously all the birth control, different hormones, my skin was, it was the worst it had ever been. Anyways, I went through probably 3 or 4 different kinds of birth control. I was really having some dark, depressive thoughts. I already struggle with my mental health, so it was pretty tricky to find a birth control that worked for me. But I finally found one. I've been on it for, 2 years now. I don't see myself going off of it probably another year or 2. I'm not really at that point yet where I'd be like I know I could track my cycle naturally, but it's hard when you've been on birth control for so long. I know that you can track your cycle and I know it's pretty accurate, but it's still like kind of, it just freaks me out. There's obviously other precautions you can take, I know, but like it's just hard when that's like your security blanket almost. I'm not gonna sit for the birth control being slandered. You do you, what works best for you. It is a great tool and resource available, especially with women's rights being taken away from them in certain places in the world. It's going good. What was an unexpected bright spot in the last month for you? Okay, this one is like, it makes me happy. My brother and I have a pretty big age gap. It's like 7-8 years. And so growing up when I was 10, he was like a toddler. And then when I was 16, he was 8 and he was annoying. We finally have hit this point where like we can be friends. And it makes me really, really happy. We were at dinner for our birthdays a few weeks ago, and my brother has the loveliest girlfriend. Her name is Eva. We were just like chatting. Matt and my brother get along really well because they love cars, and I just kind of hit this point where I was like, oh man, like I can really see my brother and I like being friends now, because the gap is like a good gap in terms of like he's in his early 20s and I'm obviously in my late 20s, and it just made me so happy because now we can go on like double dates and do all these fun things together. And my brother and his girlfriend love blind boxes, so we text about blind boxes. And yeah, it was just kind of like this bright spot where I had this realization that like, oh, we can be friends. Like this is what I've been waiting for kind of, and it made me so happy. Do you still see yourself going to nursing school? I'm actually in the process of trying to get my 4U Chem right now, because in Ontario at least, or at least in Ottawa in the area, we have no second entry nursing programs anymore. And the Ottawa one has been on hold since the pandemic. So that was my option for nursing school, because they'll take into account your university courses, and now that's not an option. Pretty much go, even if you have a university degree, they will go based off of your high school education, and I don't have grade 12 chemistry, so I'm in the process of trying to sign up with an adult high school to get that done. Yeah, still the goal. I just decided I'm like kind of tired of just sitting on it. And I just got to go for it and get my prereqs done. That's the only prerequisite I'm missing. But Matt also wants to go to school in the next 2 years, so we're kind of just trying to figure out timing and all that. But yeah, that is the plan, hopefully still. I love my job, and it's hard because right now I make what I would make as a starting nurse. And like, do I want to do that and get student loans again? You know what I mean? But like, I just feel like that's kind of where my heart is. So yeah, anyways. Yes, hopefully. How do you motivate yourself to do your hobbies when you're not having a good day? I simply don't. I don't think you should ever force yourself to do hobbies, because then they start feeling not fun to you. I would say if you really want to do a hobby but you're just having a bad day, having low effort hobbies, like I love to color on my iPad. It's like very mindless. But then there's people like Matt who when he's having a bad day, he really wants to play video games. And so I think everyone kind of has maybe that hobby that they're drawn to when they're having a bad day. I wouldn't say I ever force myself or like have to motivate myself to do a hobby on a bad day, because if I don't feel like it, I just don't, because I never want to put pressure on myself. Top 5 TV shows. That is hard. Okay, let's see what comes to the top of mind. Game of Thrones, Peaky Blinders, The Crown. I want to say Grey's Anatomy, but I also want to say The Buccaneers. But also if we're talking like TV show as a whole, Grey's Anatomy has gone so downhill that I don't know if I could say as a whole. That's tricky. Oof, I feel like I'm going to be editing this and I'm going to be forgetting something. Drive to Survive? No. I really have been enjoying The Buccaneers so far, so I'm going to say that. Favorite underdog in F1? Liam Lawson. Any 2026 season predictions? Cadillac seats. Oh, this is a good one. I would really love Danny Rick and Bottas to have the Cadillac seats. However, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be Bottas and Checo. I'm not a fan of Checo. I would love to see Bottas back in the seat. I saw this rumor going around. I kind of low-key hope it's true, but I don't think it is, because look at the Max to Merc rumor that Ferrari is going to give Lewis back to Merc on a loan for a year and trade them a Merc driver so that Lewis can win another championship. I don't know how true that is, but also Toto has been going in the Ferrari motorhome at races a lot. So, but also him and Fred are friends. So I don't really know. I feel like they would honestly send George to Ferrari for a year. I really kind of hope it's true. I don't know. We'll see. And then also Kick Sauber turns into Audi. Anyways, I actually have no idea. Leave your thoughts down below. Leave your predictions down below, because I didn't realize there was actually this many seats up in the air right now. I think V-Carb might stay the same. Isaac Hadjar and Liam Lawson. I don't want Liam to lose his seat. I think he's doing good right now. I think he's redeeming himself. How did you and your husband navigate talks about when to have kids? Ooh, this is a good one. I'm a firm believer it's not a one-off conversation you have, but a series of check-ins that kind of evolves as your relationship evolves. Like the questions you ask when you're dating are different than the questions you ask when you're engaged or married. So like when you're dating, it's kind of like that. Do you want kids? Do you not want kids? Why or why not? How many do you want? Do you have non-negotiables? Being close to family, 1 kid, 2 kid, etc. Like you're kind of just learning about each other and understanding each other's values and your deal breakers. For us, it was more of like a curiosity, not an interrogation when we were dating. And also knowing that I'm not sure is like a valid answer as long as you circle back to it down the line. And then when you get engaged and married, it kind of shifts a little bit to like more often check-ins, timelines, parenting values, lifestyle impact, what we want to accomplish before we have kids, if we want to have kids, have our thoughts changed, etc. And so, yeah, we just kind of asked ourselves those questions as our relationship progressed. Did you have an aha moment of 100% clarity when it comes to kids? No. I think some people do, but for us it was a bit more of a gradual shift, and we're still not 100% sure. Like I said, I would not be ready if I found out I was pregnant, let me tell you that. The way I viewed it was like it wasn't a light switch moment, which for some people it might be. For me, it was kind of like this, almost kind of think of like the Mentos and Coke. It's like a bubbling bottle, and the cap flying off is kind of like the moment, right? Like the thoughts were already brewing and you just kind of flicked the cap off. I have noticed some signs that kind of took me from like no to I'm not sure to maybe to like I'm getting there, if that makes sense. First one being, we can picture kids now without panicking. We think about the experience, especially on our cruise and our last Disney trip. We were like, oh, it'd be so fun to bring a kid to Disney. Oh, it'd be so fun to take a kid on a cruise. Oh, it'd be so fun to go to the bookstore with a kid. And obviously there's a lot of other things that come with it, like sleepless nights and diaper changes and crying and formula and all that stuff. But you start to picture your life with it, or with a child, I should say. Also planning in subtle ways, like we are always talking about baby names, where they would sleep, how we would rearrange the house. We made peace with the trade-offs, and then also it feels more like a choice rather than a fear. And I wrote down, for us, being ready enough doesn't mean we feel 100% certain. It means we've shifted from resisting the idea to holding space for it in the future. So hopefully that helps. Do you believe in the concept of the one in relationships? If so, how did you know Matt was the one? I actually don't think I believe in it in the traditional sense of like what TV and movies have shaped it out to be in this like pre-calculated soulmate way. I personally don't believe that's true. I feel like it's something we want to believe because it's magical and it's comforting, but it was just created from storytelling over the years. It can kind of have some negative consequences to make people hold out for this like unrealistic version of a person, and I definitely think that you should want the best for yourself and you should have high expectations, but I don't love the idea of like a predestined soulmate. However, I do think that there is someone out there, I'm married to him, that deeply fits me as a person and who I would choose every day because we're very compatible. But I don't think it was necessarily someone I was like destined to build a life with, if that makes sense. So yeah, yes and no, I guess. Depends kind of like how you look at it. What do you do to stop yourself from comparing your marriage to others you see online? Okay, I personally don't have this issue specifically in my marriage. I have it in other aspects of my life, so I wanted to share some tips that I have. I'm someone who's constantly comparing friendships online, I find. I don't know, maybe it'll be applicable for you. Remember that you see people's highlight reels. So you are not seeing the disagreements at the dinner table, the scrolling on your phones instead of talking, the, you know, bickering about who didn't do the laundry, right? You're seeing like these beautiful anniversaries and travel, and we're all guilty of it because realistically, if you wouldn't post the mundane and messy parts about your marriage, no one else is going to do it either. If you hadn't seen XYZ post, would you still be happy in your relationship today? Using curiosity instead of comparison. This is one that I love, and I actually do apply this to our marriage. I love scrolling on TikTok, and when people are like, oh, we do a Sunday check-in and we do a Friday date night and we do a no phone night, instead of comparing like, oh, I wish we could do that. Why don't you? Why don't you implement it into your relationship or your marriage? Why don't you start a joint hobby together? I also try to limit my mindless scrolling when I'm feeling vulnerable. So like if you have a disagreement with your husband and you start going to scroll, you're obviously going to fixate on other couples and other relationships you see on social media because you're feeling vulnerable right now. So just put the phone down and don't even put yourself in that position. Last one is listing out your strengths in your marriage. That way when you're feeling like comparing yourself to others, you can look back and see what you do well in your marriage. Last one, I know you're getting more open to talking about the possibility of having kids. What do you envision your channel looking like in the future? I think the best example for this is Michelle. I think she does a great job at it, Michelle Reed. I don't want people to not know I have a kid down the line, but they're not going to be a part of my content. I don't think my child's face will be online. That kind of just like, it's just not for me. I'm not judging, like I still watch some of my favorite creators even if they show their kid's face. I think people should be mindful of it, but I would hope that my content kind of looks similar when we have a kid, in the sense that like I still film these things I love to do and home vlogs and thrifting and all these things, and you might see glimpses of the back of my kid's head, or maybe you will occasionally see a little snippet of my child, but they're not going to be the forefront of my content. Yeah, I think that I'm not here to shit on anybody, and you can do what you want to do, and creators can do what they want to do. They have the knowledge, they know, they can do with that what they will. But I think that Michelle does a really great job of this. And same thing with like Jessica Braun. I'm trying to think of other people I watch that have kids. I feel like I don't watch a ton of people that have kids yet, but I like the way she approaches it. Like you kind of like see him and hear him in the background. You know he's there. You know she's a mom, but her content hasn't really changed a whole lot. Obviously, she includes little bits of motherhood, which I love, but she's still mostly kind of like that same creator she was before, filming a lot of cozy home and lifestyle stuff. Anyways, that was a very chatty one. I feel like this is gonna be a really long video to edit, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe you got to know me a little bit better. I am gonna have a lot of fun editing this one because I think it's gonna be quite the long video, but I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.